Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and on today's video we are going to talk about the best NBA player in each era. So like the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and now this era that we're in now in the 2010s. We're going to talk about each era. In my opinion, there are some close players. It is pretty close between some of these players, so we're going to get into it. Make sure you drop a like, subscribe. This is my personal opinion, because I know if I say some, I know some of y'all might be in the comments on me about it, but like I said, this is my own opinion. Like I said, drop a like, subscribe, follow my Twitter at Crumble Takes. Let's get into it, starting with the 50s. So the best NBA player in the 50s, there's some options. I mean, 50s, they weren't really hooping like that back then, like they're hooping now. But Bob Pettit is definitely one person you can think about. But my personal opinion, I'm going to give it to George Mikan. Even though he didn't even play that much with the Minneapolis Lakers at this time, this man was absolutely hooping in the years that he played. I mean, these stats, man. I mean, for some of this stuff, I had to do some research because, like, I really don't know players in the 50s. But his best season in 50 to 51, he averaged 28 points. That's pretty good, in my opinion, for in the 50s when the NBA really wasn't as big as it is now. 28 points, I mean, that's pretty good. 3 assists, I mean, this is actually some decent stats for this time, in my opinion. Now, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't counted back then, so the stat sheet's kind of blank. But in my opinion, this man was a center, averaging this many points. He was balling. Also, they also ended up winning, well, George Mikan ended up winning 3 championships during that time in the 50s. Like I said, he didn't play for that many seasons. I'm looking at his stats right now. Also, this man apparently was a 4-time All-Star during the 50s. So, I'm not gonna lie, for this day and age, this man was hooping. I mean, I don't have too much to say. Like I said, I don't mention Bob Pettit. But like I said, for this time, I mean, this man was hooping 3 rings and this kind of stats. I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty nice. And this is why I got George Mikan here as the best player in the 50s. And now we're gonna get into, I wouldn't say a little bit more modern, but like we're getting closer to that modern, I would say, even though it's still like we're going into the 60s. But let's get into it. I know I'm going to get backlash for it, and I'm ready here in the comments. The best player in the 60s is Bill Russell. I know there's going to be some people in the comments going crazy because I didn't put Wilt Chamberlain here, but hear me out. Bill Russell, one, he has more championships than Wilt, in my opinion. In my opinion, that is very important to be called the greatest, one of the greatest players in the area, dominating. Wilt did dominate, not gonna lie, but Wilt doesn't have the championships like Bill Russell does. One year in Bill Russell, in the year of 1963 to 1964, this man averaged 24 total rebounds a game. This man rebounded the ball like crazy. And why do I think he's the best player of the era? One, his rebounding was nuts. I know he wasn't that big of a scorer as Wilt was, but his defense and rebounding was huge for this Boston Celtics team. And don't even let me get started with these championships too. Alright, let's get into the championships. 1960, they beat the St. Louis Hawks. 1961, they beat the Hawks again. 62, champions. 63, champions. 64, champions. 65, champions. 66, champions. 68, champions. 69, champions. They won this many championships in a row. Bill Russell has a total of 9 championships. In my opinion, that beats Wilt 1 championship in this era. In my opinion, Wilt won in 97, but that, in my opinion, that just breaks it. I know the Celtics were a good team, but in my opinion, if they didn't have Bill Russell, maybe they don't do all this. Bill Russell, like I said, amazing defense, amazing rebounding. This man was definitely, in my opinion, he got the rings for it, the most dominant player in the 60s. And I know people in the comments are going to be coming after me for it, because that's what happened when I make my top 17 NBA players. By the way, go click the card up there for that video. But still, I know I'm ready for it, but in my opinion, Bill Russell, best players in the 60s. I'm ready to debate it, but like I said, it's Bill Russell. Let's move on to the 70s. Alright, now I think most of us for the 70s can agree that the best 70s player is definitely Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This man was on a tear in the 70s. His best season being 1971 to 72 when he averaged 34 points. This man Kareem was skyhooking over everyone's the Milwaukee Bucks. He also won a championship with the Milwaukee Bucks. But I haven't even gotten to the part when he was with the Lakers. This man Kareem was also a 9-time All-Star in the 70s. This man was very, very dominant, like I said. Definitely one of the most dominant players in the 70s. Not the most dominant player ever in the 70s. Hold on. Caught myself there. One of the most dominant players ever, I guess you could say, when this man was in its prime. But during his time with the Lakers, though, he was still the same, pretty much the same dominant as he was back in Milwaukee. He did reach the finals again in 74, but did end up losing in 7 to the Boston Celtics. Even though the Lakers during the 70s did not reach the finals when Kareem was there, during the 70s, they went again in the 80s. Even though they didn't reach it that far, I'm going to be honest with you. The only player I could see maybe close to the honorable mention for this is maybe like Julius Erving or something like that. But still, let's be honest. Like, if I put a poll on Twitter right now, it's going to say it's Kareem. Like I said, one of the most dominant players ever. The greatest center ever, in my opinion. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, dominant. The second leading scorer in NBA history now. The best player in the 70s. Let's move on to the 80s. I know the Bird fans are going to be mad at me for this one, but it's Magic Johnson. First off, we're going to start off with Magic Johnson's rookie year. He was an all-star. And guess what? This man won a freaking Finals MVP in a championship in his rookie year. And that's just the start of what this man Magic Johnson did in the 80s. He went on a tear. This man went on a tear. I know, like, the championship was technically from 79 to 80, but that's just a start. That's just a start to see what this man Magic Johnson can do. All right, 9-time All-Star during that time. The first year wasn't an All-Star. I think he was hurt some of the games, but it doesn't matter. Magic Johnson is one of the best NBA players to ever play the game. We're gonna get into these stats and these championships. This man was built like a power forward and passed the ball like a point guard. That's why he played point guard. Absolutely dominant force as a point guard. And let's get into these championships that this man won in the 80s. They ended up winning 4 championships in the era of the 80s. 4 championships. That's pretty good. I mean, you could make a debate for Bird. I know there's some Bird fans that love Bird and definitely can make a debate for him. But Magic Johnson, man, he was built like a power forward and played like a point guard, man. Like, this man was still around dominant force. And Magic also won 2 MVPs during this time. I know Bird won 3 in a row, like I said, but just something about Magic, man. In my opinion, he's my 5th greatest NBA player of all time. I don't want to go on so much how much I love Magic Johnson, how much I love Magic Johnson's game, but in my opinion, I got him over Larry Bird for the 80s. Definitely one of the most dominant force. No, the most dominant force at point guard. Do I even need to talk about who the best player in the 90s was? I know some of y'all might get on my case, because when I was talking about Jordan in the last one, y'all was hopping on my case because I was talking about him so much and talking so much greatness about him. The greatest player in the 90s is Michael Jordan. It's not really even a debate. And like second, you could probably say is Hakeem. But besides that, it's let's be honest, Michael Jordan. Start off. Let's see how many MVPs he won. Guess what? In the 90s era, he won 4 MVPs. 4 MVPs. He also won some scoring titles in there too. And guess what? 6 championships. Won in 91, 92, 93, 96, 95, and 98. In 96, debatably one of the greatest teams of all time. I mean, is there really much to say about Michael Jeffrey Jordan? The greatest NBA player of all time. Of course, he was the most dominant in his area. This man had insane mentality, and he was just he was a walking version of him. He's him. Like, all these accolades and all this stuff, he was just that guy in the playoffs, in the regular season, in the finals. He was just that guy. I'm not gonna even talk about him that much anymore, because what needs to be said? He is the GOAT. So of course he's gonna be the best in his era. So I'm gonna cut this short for Jordan. Like I said, he's the GOAT. What else needs to be said? This one's gonna be a little controversial for you guys, because I know some of y'all out there love Tim Duncan. But the best player in the 2000s, in my opinion, is Kobe Bean Bryant. Listen, I know he only has 1 MVP award, but listen, let me break it down for you. He won 5 championships in the 2000s. I know some people are going to debate, oh, if he didn't have Shaq, he wouldn't have won those. No. I'm not getting into that debate. Kobe Bryant is the best player in the early 2000s. He, in my opinion, beats out Tim Duncan. During this time, Kobe Bryant was a 10-time All-Star, first player on this list to be a 10-time All-Star each of those years through their era. This man, Kobe, was a menace on the court. If you saw Kobe on the court, you knew you was in trouble, because this man was about to ball his mind out. I know people like to say Tim Duncan's defense and all this stuff, the Spurs dynasty. It's Kobe Bryant. I actually might do a poll on this. Let me know what y'all think in the comments about this debate. Do you guys got Kobe for the early 2000s, or do you got Tim Duncan? Because I got Kobe, man. 10-time All-Star. He won an MVP, 5-time champion. This man was absolutely dominating the game of basketball. This man would average some crazy points, some crazy stats. I personally got Kobe Bryant. In Kobe Bryant's best year in the 2000s, he also averaged 35 points, which in my opinion is, that's insane. In his second best, he averaged 31 points, which also was absolutely insane. Kobe Bryant, a bucket. Rest in peace to the Black Mamba. I miss you, Kobe. I miss seeing you play. Let's move on to the 2010s. Like I said about the 90s, there's not really a discussion for the 2010s either. The best player is LeBron freaking James. I guess you could maybe, some people would be like, you could make an argument for Curry, but it's LeBron James. This man LeBron is the second greatest NBA player of all time. And this 2010s LeBron was on a whole nother level, I will tell you guys. So first off, he was an all-star every single one of those years. Yes, another player on this list to be an all-star every single one of those years. And what even made this man LeBron more dominant, he got 3 championships in this year. 2 in Miami and 1 with the Cavs. Now, if he was so dominant, how come he only got 3 championships? Listen, some of these Cavs teams were a little bit questionable and they had some really bad luck. But I feel like the Cavs championship that they won makes up for it. They came back from a 3-1 lead to arguably one of the best teams ever, the 2016 Golden State Warriors. So in my opinion, it makes up for this. LeBron was on a whole nother level. If y'all don't believe me, y'all should look up 2018 LeBron highlights and y'all will see what I mean. This man, 2018 playoff highlights, this man was on a whole nother level. Also, during this time, LeBron was also a 3-time MVP, which adds even more to this resume. This man was super dominant with his stint with the Cavs and his stint with the Heat. And then he did have that 2019 year with the Lakers, but nothing too much happened in that year. He got injured and he was around a young team, so nothing too much happened. But like I said, LeBron James, the greatest 2010s player ever and one of the best to ever do and play the game of basketball ever. So let's move on to this year's. The greatest basketball player in this era of the NBA basketball during this period now is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I guess you could make a debate for Jokic because he's won 2 MVPs, but in my opinion, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. This man averaged 30 this year. This man, when he's on the court, is an all-around dominant beast on the court. You cannot tell me otherwise. This man really carried this Milwaukee Bucks team to a poverty franchise, to a title contending team every year. This man, Giannis, he's him. In my opinion, he's the best player in the world and he's the best player in the league. I know I'm a Bucks fan, so I'm not even being biased on this. This should just be known fact. I mean, yes, he hasn't won an MVP this season, but he's definitely been a finalist for multiple of these MVP awards this decade. But the decade isn't over, so I definitely think Giannis can definitely do more stuff to propel his legacy and make this even better. Because let's see, we're only 3 years into the decade or this era, so there's not really much I can say besides he won a championship in 2021 with the Milwaukee Bucks. But I'm not gonna even lie, that was kind of lucky. But I do expect more championships to come, and I'm very excited to see what Giannis' career is gonna his outlook is going to be and what's the career is going to look like when it's all said and done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed, please smash that subscribe button, drop a like. It really helps out the channel. You guys don't understand how much it really does help out the channel. Comment who y'all favorite NBA player is all time and watch these 2 videos right here. Put a lot of work into them. I recommend y'all watch them. Peace out. See y'all in the next one. Have a nice day.